Back on June 12th, there was a Nintendo Direct featuring some of their upcoming titles, but the only thing we all knew we were there for was any news related to Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. And at the end of the Direct we got it. That was when we first saw Ridley from the Metroid series, and the very first thing he did was kill Mega Man. Now, personally, Metroid is one of my favorite Nintendo IPs. Whenever someone asks me what my personal top 5 games of all time are, I always put Metroid Prime 1 at the very top, and the rest change as I get older and play more games. I was crossing my fingers for Ridley to be playable in Smash 4 up until its release, and I was furious when the leaks came out and revealed he was not on the list, and a dumb dog named Duck Hunt took his spot. I suppose it's karmic then that I made Duck Hunt for 3 of Smash 4's 4-year lifespan. Oops. Anyway, I was jazzed as hell that Ridley was announced, and I had put him as one of my 3 day 1 characters to put serious effort into, alongside Wario, who was my Brawl main, and Duck Hunt, who was my Smash 4 main. But then things started to happen with Ridley. The game had numerous demo appearances all over the world, and players that had the opportunity to play the game ahead of time didn't often give Ridley the chance, much less get some footage of him for me to fawn over. Someone on Reddit had compiled the win rates of all the characters that had footage, and Ridley had ranked as one of the lowest win rates of them all. To say nothing of his showing at the E3 Invitational, where his most famous moment was him getting bayoneted on green greens. So I was getting worried. I had wanted Ridley in Smash since shortly before Smash 4's release, and him getting relegated as a stage hazard for Pyrosphere was the nail in the coffin for him, and no DLC is going to change that. And now that he's finally in, it turns out that he might actually suck. Things weren't looking good. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate came out on December 7th, and I finally got the chance to bite the bullet and give him a real sit down and lab out some stuff. See if his win rates weren't so low because people couldn't pick him up for the 4-ish minutes they had with the demo kiosk. Long story short, I love Ridley. I am having so much fun with him. I haven't seen too many people talk about Ridley on YouTube or wherever. Most people are more focused on King K. Rool or Incineroar or Inkling or Simon. Actually, everyone is more focused on literally all of the other newcomers, but I've never seen anyone talk much about Ridley. I've seen other people play as him, both at my local events and on the odd match online, but nobody's really sat down to do a guide on him and try to help others give him a chance. My Duck Hunt and Doubles videos from previous years were fairly well received, so I'm going to put the same effort in making a beginner's guide for Ridley. I'd like to stress though that this is a beginner's introduction. Like I said, the game came out on December 7th, and as of this writing, it is December 12th. That's not a lot of time to really form a professional opinion on him or his performance in larger tournaments, and all of the strategies and talking points I'm about to make for him are after 5 days of experience. This is just me trying to get Ridley's foot in the door when it comes to representation, and if it gets people to sit down with him and give him a shot on quick play, I'd consider my job a success. Let's talk about his weaknesses first, so you know what you're getting into. Ridley, like any big body heavyweight, with one exception, has a nasty tendency to get juggled pretty badly by any way halfway competent opponent with some wide aerial hitboxes. His aerial speed isn't great, so his best options for getting out of a juggle situation are to air dodge or to Nair, but more on his Nair later. Also, because he's so big, he has a hard time getting into characters with a lot of projectiles. Young Link in particular is getting a lot of traction, at least at my local scene, and dealing with arrows, bombs, and boomerangs is a whole ordeal. Ridley has his own projectile called Plasma Breath, but its strength isn't encountering zoning any more than Mario's Fireball is. Finally, his recovery is telegraphed, linear, fragile, and slow. I haven't been intercepted on my recovery too many times, but I mostly chalk that up to player inexperience and not knowing when it's safe to throw a hitbox at Ridley. Ridley has 2 mid-air jumps, his side B, the Space Pirate Rush, does not put him into freefall, and his up B, Wing Blitz, goes a deceptively far distance and can be angled. But, on the other hand, he's a heavy, so his mid-air jumps don't send him high. Side B has long startup, and up B can only be angled in the 4 cardinal directions, so it can't be angled in a full 360 degrees like Fox's. And to top off all of that, Ridley is light for a heavyweight. Samus is heavier than him by a single unit. So to recap, Ridley has a big body with big weight to go with it, and he has a difficult time getting out of a vortex because of it. He has a difficult time dealing with zoners because he doesn't have the tools to counter him. His recovery is inflexible compared to most others, and leaves something to be desired when you're trying to get back onto the stage. And to add insult to injury, a giant space dragon weighs less than the lady in a suit of armor. So if you've made it this far, you either think that Ridley's weaknesses are tenable and you're interested in giving him a try despite them, or you're here for the matchup knowledge, or both, or neither and you're here for the novelty. In which case, hello. The 2 times I've spoken to others in my local scene about Ridley, I've gotten the same complaints. They don't know how to work his neutral. Ridley is a giant dragon with long limbs and an even longer tail, and he has a projectile that should help him put up some walls to defend himself with. Why can't they just dash dance in front of other characters like they can with everyone else? Most of his attacks are too gangly to approach with. That would be just it, actually. You're not supposed to. Ridley is not a rushdown character. He is a bait and punish character. Like, look, I get that when you select Ridley, you're choosing to play as a giant purple fire-breathing space dragon and that you want to feel fierce and powerful with them. And what better way to feel fierce and powerful than by running in and pressing a ton of buttons? Ridley should be a terror to fight, and hanging back, especially in a game as offensively oriented as Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, is not what most people would consider fierce. Ridley has a massive sphere of influence that projects all around him. His attacks all have impressive range, and some of them deal an enormous amount of damage. His combo game isn't weak, like some people might assume, and is capable of getting early kills like with this string shown here. And although he isn't a rushdown character, he's perfectly capable of dealing with rushdown himself. You need to let them come to you, so you can slap them with your long-range attacks and convert their approach into your combo. Let's go over some of his attacks and how they can be properly utilized in most situations. His jab hits on frame 4 and he can either use it to multi-hit or to gentleman. His multi-hit can usually do anywhere between 14 to 16%, but if you can get your opponent against a ledge, I've seen it do upwards of 21. His rapid jab can't kill, but his gentleman can. Down tilt hits on frame 10 and is a safe poke at max range, with some exceptions of course, and both it and down throw are excellent combo starters at low percents. Up tilt is crazy at pressuring platforms. It can juggle into itself, followed by most aerials, it's an anti-air attack, and it's a kill move at higher percents. It's basically Cloud's up tilt but with more range in exchange for a larger dead zone in his body. Dash attack is a lunging bite. It comes out on frame 12 and its first actionable frame is frame 40. It has a huge hitbox going all the way from his snout to his neck, and it's a highly powerful kill move. It's a great punish tool, and I've surprised a lot of opponents trying to dash dance in front of me by whipping it out, but try not to be too reliant on it. Plasma Breath is best used for offstage edge guarding, and it's one of the most obnoxious projectiles I've ever seen for the job. At close range, each fireball does 6.8%, and at max range it fires 5 fireballs for 34% total. They create a wall of fire that your opponent has to find a way through, and if they don't, at best, they'll be taking an enormous amount of damage. Plasma Breath can also be used to tank a hit without taking knockback. You'll take a huge amount of damage, but as seen here, Ridley himself won't move at all if he takes a punch to the jaw while he's charging. Space Pirate Rush is a command grab, meaning it beats shields. It's slow and difficult to land, but a full range slide will do an incredible amount of damage while also giving Ridley stage control. Your opponent can mash out, but if they do, Ridley will be neutral in frames. He can jab, and their only counterplay would be to shield it. Space Pirate Rush can also be cancelled by Ridley at any time after a successful grab with jump. There isn't much incentive for using this on stage, at least not that I've found, but this is useful if you land it off stage because it'll put Ridley's opponent into a bad position without putting Ridley himself at much risk. Keep in mind, if you commit to Space Pirate Rush off stage, Ridley will die first, so be sure you're only committing when you're up a stock. Up Smash is a very potent kill move, killing most midweights at around 90%. It also functions as a decent anti-air attack, although because Ridley does a front flip, the hitbox first begins behind him, so it can be tricky to get used to. If you're interested in Ridley's frame data, check the description for an Imager album containing all his data. But all of these examples of some of his better attacks and how well they work don't touch on 2 of his best attacks. His neutral air and his down B called Skewer. Skewer is difficult to land, don't get me wrong. It comes out on frame 30 and it has a highly demanding sweet spot on the dagger of his tail. It also puts your opponent into a crumple state, meaning that it can't ever kill, even at max damage, and a successful hit puts you at a slight frame disadvantage, meaning nothing Ridley can do is a true follow-up, but more on that in a second. In exchange for these shortcomings, it has a gargantuan amount of range, and because of its huge range, it's a relatively safe poke on shield. It has a sour spot that does 6%, which is better than nothing, and it makes your opponent flinch, also making it safe. And the big one, it does 60%. A successful skewer can put Ridley back into the game if he's down, or it can turn a small lead into a nearly insurmountable one with a single move. If you decide to use Ridley, you need to learn to not be a coward with skewer. Yes, it's slow to come out, yes, the hitbox is demanding, but the payoff for it is way too much to overlook. Because it's so slow though, it can't be used as an approach tool or a neutral tool. It, like the rest of his kit, is best used for punishes, namely on missed techs or get-ups from the ledge, setting themselves up for an attack. If your opponent is put into a prone position from a missed tech, one good read on their option select is all you need. If you've seen a fox land a Nair or a dare into an option select up smash for the kill, you can do the same with skewer. Another strong setup for skewer is using it in conjunction with plasma breath. If you can position yourself like I am in this clip here, Plasma Breath will hug the ledge without bouncing off it, limiting your opponent's options when recovering. This exact same position just happens to be the perfect spacing for skewering a regular getup or a getup attack as well, and if your opponent tries to see it coming, you can use that pressure to force something else out of them, such as a jump or a roll. If you successfully land a skewer, like I said before, you're technically at frame disadvantage, and nothing you do is a true follow-up. However, your opponent can't punish you because they're in a prone position, and no get-up attack in the game has the range to catch you. You're forced to read their get-up option and punish that instead. That said, you have one option of yours that beats 3 of their 4. Down smash. Ridley's down smash extends as far as the tips of his wings to his body, and no part of it is a sour spot. It's slow, but it's a kill move and a half, and the little jump he does can actually send him over most low-profile attacks, such as get-up attack. The only option down smash won't cover is roll away, so you have a 3 in 4 chance to guess correctly. And on top of all that, if you do successfully land a skewer when your opponent is next to the ledge, not even roll away will save them, and their only hope is to time their option's invincibility frames to beat yours, which is an extremely tall order. At the end of the day, you just need to be confident with skewer. You need to be smart with it though. If your opponent is in the air and still has their jump, it's not worth looking for, and heaven forbid, please don't spam it, especially in neutral. If you know when to use it, you'll have an easier time landing it than you will Space Pirate Rush, at least in my experience. And as for Nair, Ridley's Nair is his go-to, his do-it-all Swiss Army knife. If you use Ridley, Nair will be your most frequently used move. There is almost literally no situation where Nair can't be used. It's one of those moves where other tools may be better for the job, but Nair will also work in a pinch. There is nothing it doesn't do. It comes out on frame 8, and at low percents, its knockback is soft enough to combo into anything from another aerial to a tilt or into itself for more follow-ups. Down throw Nair, down tilt Nair fair is a possible string. It's an impeccable out of shield option. The range is massive. It has a sweet spot on the tip that does 15%. It's a gipping tool. It's a kill move. It has 13 frames of landing lag and it auto-cancels out of short hop. Nair is your life with Ridley. Are you being pressured and you aren't sure what to do? Nair out of shield. Is your opponent off stage and you like to edge guard them? Either Plasma Breath or Nair. You're being ledge guarded yourself? Nair or fair depending on positioning. Are you being juggled? Nair first hits beneath Ridley, so either it or air dodge. Your opponent just whiffed and you'd like to punish? Your best options are grab and down throw, down tilt, or Nair, or skewer if you're confident. Nair hits in a full circle around Ridley, meaning there's no dead zone whatsoever, although like I said, it has a sweet spot on his tail. It also gets weaker the longer it's out, like most Nairs, but if you hit with the absolute end of the move, you probably weren't in an advantageous position anyway. Either that or you're trying to set up for some godlike kill confirm at high percents, because Nair can still do that in that position. As I'm writing this script, I'm trying to think of some trade-off that might discourage you from using Nair for any reason like I did with Skewer, but I'm honest to goodness not thinking of any real downsides to this move. The only bad thing I can say about it is, like I mentioned, it might not be the best tool for any given situation. Fair has more forward range, Bear has more backward range and is more of a kill move, Jab is slower by 2 frames but is less committal, and etc. But Nair will also work in almost all situations that those other moves will. Nair is far and away Ridley's best move in terms of utility. If you're thinking of using Ridley in any capacity, this is the move you're going to need to master, and it's not hard to master. The in-game macro of pushing jump and attack at the same time for a short hop attack of your directional choice, makes using this move as simple as slicing bread, and the reward you'll get will be as disproportionate as a $20 coupon for a $10 blunt. If you're looking for a more critical analysis of this move to find some flaw with it, I'm afraid I just have nothing. I'd like to remind you again that this script was written on day 5 of Super Smash Bros. Ultimate being released, and this guide is meant to be an introduction to Ridley and his toolkit rather than an extensive analysis on his every option against the rest of the cast and his long-term competitive viability. So maybe in a year's time there will be some flaw with the move that opponents will be able to consistently capitalize on. But until then, as far as I'm aware, Ridley's Nair is damn near the perfect move. Ridley is all about controlling the space immediately around himself. All of his tilts have enormous range, his jab is fast as hell, and his aerials, particularly Nair, lock down the air around himself. He has a fair amount of combo potential, especially in down throw, down tilt, and Nair, and he isn't lacking in damage output or kill potential. He can obnoxiously lock down ledges that the opponent is trying to get to, and a particularly astute Ridley can snipe out the littlest of mistakes for a huge play with his skewer. Because Ridley is so good at controlling his own space, he doesn't struggle with rushdown characters as much as you'd think. However, he himself is not especially good at approaching. Ridley has an easy time maintaining his own space, but trying to make more is a tall order, mostly because of the mechanics of the game. I've heard rumblings of other top-level players such as Abadango, Plup, and Void are all seeing success with Ridley, but I haven't seen any footage of them and their movements to know if Ridley's slow and steady area denial playstyle is a Ridley thing, or if it's a me thing. But in the event that it's a Ridley thing, there are 3 things I'd recommend you do when it comes to approaching. The first is to master running down tilt and running jab. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate lets the player maintain total control of their character out of a run by letting the stick reset to neutral before performing an action. You can use this to approach with down tilt, which is a safe poke at max range, and it is an excellent combo starter, and to approach with jab, which is mostly just a fast option. You may want to consider learning to use tilt stick if you don't use it already. The second, of course, is to eschew running down tilt and running jab with Nair. Nair is a strong approach tool to go with everything else it can do, but it's not the strongest approach tool Ridley has, which is why you may want to consider alternatives. And the third is to play on a stage with platforms. Ridley commands the space around himself, forming a massive sphere of influence that an opponent takes a huge risk with when they enter it. Giving Ridley an umbrella in the form of a platform will only make Ridley's juggling and anti-air opportunity stronger, while also forcing your opponent to cut down their own approach options, giving you lots of opportunities for more down tilts and nairs. To that end, the best stages for Ridley are, like I said, anything with platforms. Final Destination isn't good for him at all, especially against zoners, where he can't even retreat to a platform to help against the onslaught of stuff coming at him. Battlefield gives him 2 umbrellas on either side of the stage. Smashville gives him one in the center if hazards are off, and it moves if hazards are on. Town and City give him multiple, especially if hazards are on. Pokemon Stadium give him 2 narrower ones. And if Yoshi's Island Brawl is available, you go there every chance you get. That stage belongs to Ridley. To summarize it all, I love how Ridley feels and how he plays. I'm having so much fun with him, and every match I play with him, it's getting easier and easier to master his nuances. But I can't tell you if Ridley is going to be a staple threat at tournaments. He has weaknesses that are unbecoming of a tournament threat, including being juggled as often as he does, and his linear recovery makes things difficult. It's far too early in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate's lifespan to say one way or another if he's going to have any serious representation and how well they'll do. But, as a guy that just loves playing him and stabbing people with his tail, I'm cautiously optimistic. So that's my thoughts on Ridley. If you'd like to see more content like this, and for more content on Atlantic Canada's Super Smash Bros. And their local scenes, be sure to subscribe to this channel. Be sure to also check out my video on doubles and how it plays. It may use antiquated footage from Smash 4, but the concepts ideas still apply just as well to Ultimate. We'll see you next time.